Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Biz Talk for TikTok. Today in the studio, I have one of my good friends, business partners, I should say as well. He is the CEO and founder of Team Checked. Guys, got to check that out. But I have Dillon Smith in the studio, and we're going to be talking about Web3. And a lot of you who have listened to my show in the past, you might think, how does Web3 related to TikTok or social media in general? But we're going to talk about how creators, especially Web2 creators who are in spaces like Reels, TikTok, and using those to be able to leverage and move into the Web3 space. And Dylan and I have been researching and been studying, and we're going to talk about our expertise of what we've learned, and we're going to deep dive and just discuss a bunch of crazy stuff today. So, Dylan, welcome to Biz Talk for TikTok.
I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me. Quite the intro that like we're living in the modern world. Let's talk 3.0.
Right? 3.0. Some people that are listening right now, they might think that this space is a little crazy. I'm sure everybody has heard about the metaverse, heard about cryptocurrencies at least, but a lot of people have no idea what they're doing. And from a creator standpoint as well, are like, what does this even mean? And how can I leverage this to my advantage now? So I'd love to talk to you about that. But talk to me a little bit more about you, Dylan, first to give, the audience a better understanding of who you are and what you're up to.
Appreciate that. And always glad to be on the show and support. As Kyle said quite eloquently, more than just a business associate, quite a good friend. So very fond of you. And just glad to be here and be part of the show. A little more what I do. Kyle and I have a lot of synergy in this world. I've been in the creator economy, artist economy, just overall entertainment economy for a decade now. Started in the high school touring world where we would bring in young artists and performers from X Factor, American Idol, celebrities in the local music scenes, and they would speak to high school students about mental health, the anti-bullying, and suicide awareness. So that became a real strong passion project, both for performers to grow as artists and also change the lives of these kids. That moved into the creator economy and touring, right? So we would
Mhm.
take some of the baddest creators out there and put them on tour and let their fans around the world meet them. That got stalled around COVID, sadly, but we migrated that heavily into the digital world. How do we maintain that fan interaction with their favorite creators and not take a back seat to COVID here? So we migrated pretty aggressively digitally. And that's where you and I really kicked off and built the relationship early on, was where is the world heading digitally with all of these meet and greets components. But we're very much focused on our roster of large TikTokers, performers, some A-listers, and then really curating their content in a way that is 3.0 relevant, opens the world of fans to it as well, and introduces them to, oh, here's how we do it. Let's do it together.
What's interesting is a lot of people say this, but COVID, at first, I was like, oh no, this sucks. This has ruined everything. Because from our standpoint as well, we had so many advertisers ready to go, and then COVID hit and they pulled budgets because they were having to let people go and all this crazy stuff. But I realized that it is probably one of the best things that's happened to my life and actually our business in general, because why? It forced a lot of people to be at home and use their mobile devices, which then kickstarted a lot more people coming to TikTok, generating more user base, more views, and our creators started growing exponentially because of, I think, because of COVID. But now people have been used to working in the virtual spaces and digital era, that Web 3.0 comes at the most optimal time to
Uh,
leverage now because people are used to being in more of a at-home base. And if another wave of COVID came again, it wouldn't even be a big deal to us because we're all going to be in the virtual space.
no, precisely. Yeah, it's been neat to watch the migration. I mean, it's opened a world to meet and greets and interaction with our clients beyond what traditional touring did, because people don't have to
Mhm.
leave. They can have a meet and greet experience from their bed or from a sofa without leaving. It's definitely opened up a lot of new cool factors for us that I know
Yeah,
that you and I have even worked on, since we kicked off. So
exactly. And I think a lot of brands, businesses, and creators have to be very creative with how they're going to leverage different things as COVID has shifted us, because we were pre-COVID, we were doing tours. We saw it all the time, creators doing meet and greets at places and going around and meeting their
yep,
fans, because as a creator, your fan is like your community and you want to give back to them. And typically people want to meet you in real life and say they had that experience. But with COVID, that wasn't a thing. So now we're able to figure out, okay, what's next for us? And Web3 is a perfect slot of saying, hey, guess what, fans? Regardless of where you are in the world with COVID or restrictions,
Mhm.
even as things get lifted, some people can't travel. So this gives fans the opportunity to get back into the ways of being able to meet and greet with their favorite creators, meet them virtually, and share some really cool experiences in the digital space. So
Yeah, so well
it's
said. Couldn't agree more. And it's exciting because we're already doing. I know you and I have already jumped in pretty quick into some of the new and up and coming metaverse spaces, figuring out the creator economies with those, and but just the what's next now that we have the pieces. It's no
yeah,
longer
no,
talking about it, like we're actually sitting on the pieces right now. It's
right?
cool.
Exactly. It's just crazy because the metaverse and some people are thinking what's the best ways, to leverage these things, and what does the metaverse look like? The cool thing is that Dylan and I are actually owners of a project that's on the Solana blockchain network, and it's called Portals. If anybody's interested, definitely take a look at Portals. But we have an example because a lot of people are probably thinking, well, what does this even mean? I don't get it when they say metaverse or being in the virtual space. What does that look like? So we have an example. Those of you that are listening, I have a link to the a YouTube video that you could take a look at this so you can see for yourself what this even means. I'm going to open it up right now, add it to the screen here. This room right here that you guys see, this is my portal space, and it's only a little small segment, but I set it up for my podcast. And you can see I have my podcast logo back there. It says live on air, and I have it set up like a little show. So that's Dylan and I. I'm in the suit over here in the host seat, and Dylan's my guest there to the left. The reason why this is super cool is that these rooms and every metaverse or space or project does look a lot different. There's different capabilities to each of them. This is just one example. But
Totally.
how Dylan's able to leverage this for creators is that he also has a space that looks completely different than mine because you can set these up and function them however you like. But he actually has his set up to where it's going to benefit their creators. So, Dylan, talk to me a little bit about how you plan on using a metaverse for your creators and leveraging them for monetizing opportunities.
The cool thing about portals, and that's why we chose them initially versus the Decentralands or the sandboxes, which in their own ways are phenomenal, right? And you should be equally as involved in those. But for us, it was important that users have easy access because the idea of metaverse is intimidating. When you
Yep.
hear metaverse, you automatically think VR. Looking around, do I have these? No. Okay, so what can I use? Well, all you need is a computer. Now, all of a sudden, you have a whole new experience in the metaverse. So for us to be able to send out a URL that takes the 2.0 experience into 3.0 was step number one. And we're really glad to find that product that does it so seamlessly. The other thing was the ability to integrate commerce and upsells and connect 2.0 to 3.0 through these environments. So one of the utilities we're using is fashion exhibits. We've got creators with huge e-commerce networks, and we've got several spaces that we've built out for fashion exhibits with catwalk through the middle and all of the different items pasted around the room, all clickable to the actual URLs to purchase. So it's become this virtual shopping experience, which is a cool way we've utilized it. The music side, working with a lot of labels and clients who want to enter the metaverse but don't know how, need the space to do it, right? So what we do beyond just Kyle's and my ownership in these, we're invested heavily with partnerships in a dozen of these spaces so that we can run multiple events. And that includes multiple of the visions, not just the little ivories. So
Yeah.
all about taking, and to describe it to the listeners here, there's three different portal sizes that were initially launched. The ivory, we're in that now, and the little space you guys can see in the sample is just a corner. They're pretty large rooms actually, but
They are.
the largest division, it's I think basketball court times two or three, two floors. So it really opens up the world to 500,000 plus users coming into one room virtually and interacting. So that's really exciting for us.
For sure. And what I love about it, and you showed me some of these capabilities in here, but when you mentioned the meet and greet aspects, and I'll try to explain it to people who are listening as well. When you're in this room, you have a little avatar. So creator can come in. And the fun thing is you can speak in these rooms. So it's not just like
Yep.
you're running around. There's actually mic capabilities. So the owner or the creator that's in the space will have a moment to be able to speak to their fans and then be able to toggle on certain people who might have a question and be able to interact, but they're able to hang out with them in the metaverse and take little screenshot
Totally.
photos. But what's cool, what Dylan mentioned, is this is where like people's brains kind of start thinking, holy shit, because when Dylan took me in and he used the example of one of his creators and he has it all set up. So it's going to be like a runway, like a modeling kind of runway, because as things start integrating, there will be capabilities eventually where these avatars will be able to put on different clothing items or different metaverse items. But for now, he has it set up like a runway so somebody can go up there and speak like a stage. But
Yep.
over to the right is an display. So if you were to go to an event and see like a booth at an exhibit, let's say it's like that, where they can see some of the products, be able to interact with them. And
Yep.
the interaction is the best because you can click it, it goes straight to the store, automatically has the discount that you may have attached to it, saying like a metaverse discount or
Ah,
whatnot. So
yes.
fans that are in the space that are talking then can go over there and be excited about this opportunity, click that link, buy some merch right
Like,
there.
how
It
cool is that? I know
it's so cool.
yeah. And you had a really cool point there in that you can do the exclusive links, right? And that's been a cool thing for the fans and people who've been in and out is, where do I get this at a discount? Well, you have to come visit our room, come shop with us physically in our metaverse. It's just amazing to see this economy come to life. And it's cool that we get to physically be part of it with the
No,
product. Talk
exactly.
of it.
Exactly. And there's so many capabilities with it because it doesn't have to take you to a storefront. It can take you to a website. For instance, those of you that are listening and you're new to Web3 and you might not know where to start, the two things that you need to have: Twitter. I never even had Twitter before and I had to start one because that's where you get a lot of information and that's the number one place people are speaking of. But Discord is where any project that you're looking into, wanting to research, joining in conversation in the community to ask questions, you have to be on there. What's
So,
interesting is I went into the Discord group with the portals and people share their spaces or how they're using them. And there was
mm,
a man in there that has a watch store. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is relatable to creators, to brands, to businesses, and how they can start leveraging Web 3.0 into their plans. And because of COVID, it has really decreased his foot traffic. And when you search the web, it's hard because you're competing with millions of stores because on the web you can access stores from all over the world. So he was like, how can I increase foot traffic but virtually? So on his portals, it is like a whole store for his watches and it looks so cool. He has like display cabinets set up. He has a
and
little desk. Yeah. And it's
just
linked. So he is sitting at the desk and then he has a link on his website or whatever, and he has it saying, "Hey, come to our store and say hi." And then people are logging in like, "What the hell is this?" But then he's able to greet them in the room and say hello. And then he has some watches displayed on the wall that are clickable, but they're able to go through the website together, a firsthand experience like you would in a store, to be able to ask in-person questions with somebody live. So it feels like that customer approach. And it's really working for him. And people are sharing it with their friends now because this experience is so new and fresh. And things like that just blow my mind because
yep.
as a creator, a lot of people have merch or they have products they're looking to sell. How cool is this to be able to give your fans or community a new piece to be able to communicate with you, share some really cool experiences with you? It's
Yeah,
insane.
it's absolutely insane. I have to go check out that watch concept. I mean, it's the
Yeah,
exact ability that we're talking about here. It's
totally.
infinite. That's why we're in the multi-space economy because there are businesses and brands and partners we work with who we can not only set up shop for them for a month and say, hey, let's build out an online discount storefront for you.
Mhm.
Uh, Bring in 3 or 4 creators once a week and have them drop in for guest appearances in your store. So it's this whole economy is just crazy and exciting.
Exactly. And some people might think, is this just a phase? Maybe this will go away, or NFTs are stupid, those will die out. But do you think it's just a phase?
No, no, I don't. I think like everything new to the market, it's a bit of a bubble, right? I think
Mhm.
I think you've got 5,000 projects dropping a month and everyone competing for the same limited bandwidth of people who are in this market. I mean,
Yeah,
talk OpenSea, you got 100,000 total accounts. eBay's got 156 million, so
exactly.
roughly it's just completely different planets at this
Mhm.
point. But I think that some important core monetary people, fund people have gotten involved deeply at this point. And that to me was the indicator. Those who understand markets and currency exchange and how it plays into international commerce. Once those players started stepping in and opening the world with it, I think it was the confirmation that this is the wave of the future. I think NFTs still have a maturation process to go through quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
Uh, Public doesn't know if you're buying a JPEG or if you're buying a cruise. They have no idea what comes with it. So
exactly.
there's a lot of education, and that's, I think, a role you play and I play with our roster and the combined efforts we do all the time is educating people. The only reason it would fail is if everybody collectively said, well, we don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's education.
And I think you hit it on the head there where some people are listening in and saying, yeah, isn't it just a JPEG? And then I want to swing back around and talk about how creators are using education now to help this space. But it's true, like for those of you listening that might not understand this space or might not understand an NFT, you most likely have heard of one. And you probably have a lot of resistance to it or misconceptions in your mind that you think it's just a JPEG. And let's use Bored Apes as an example because those are talked about so heavily with, Snoop Dogg, Jimmy Fallon, Justin Bieber just spent, I think, $2.3 million to buy two of them and be a holder. Lady Gaga, Paris Hilton, they all own them as well, which is very interesting. But because Jimmy Fallon's talking it on the show, that means a lot of people are starting to understand and they're probably thinking, well, that ape is cool, but a really good artist could draw that or screenshot that and I could make a poster of that. But they're not understanding the concept of it as it's like a membership. It's your membership card, just like I use this example a lot with Costco, and I'm just going to use it into this podcast right here. If you have a Costco membership, majority of you that are listening to this right now might have one in your wallet. That's like your NFT. That's your NFT, but the card itself or the image itself doesn't really have the value, but
Right.
it's the membership benefits that you get, the utilities is what they call it in this space that comes with that and the community. So just like Costco, you can go in there and you can get wholesale pricing, 2% cash back, things like that. Those are the benefits you get for being a member and you pay to be a member, right? Just like you buy an NFT to be a member. Now, how cool would it be though if all the Costco people you actually talk to in a community, right?
Yeah.
And share with them, and maybe some of them are in a business that can help each other out. But the best part is your Costco membership. If you don't want to renew it, it has zero value now. Nobody cares about your card. Nobody wants to buy it. Like whatever. But how cool would it be if Costco is such an exclusive club? Only 5,000 people could shop and they limited to 5,000 people and they had the best deals. Chances are you're going to want in. And let's say I bought my Costco membership for $100, but now people want to be in this project. Now my $100 Costco membership could be worth 100,000, could be worth $1 million.
Yeah.
And I think once people start realizing that NFTs are not just a photo, some of them are definitely, some of them don't come with anything and you have to do your research to see what it is. And it might be the art that you love, but a lot of them that are standard profile picture looking kind of cartoons, typically those have utilities with them or people wouldn't spend a lot of money just for a little cartoon. But that's where the education, that's why I'm coming back around, is so key because the rest of the world just sees these little cartoons and they're like, why the hell would anybody spend $1 million on that? That's stupid. So education is so key to give the audience and people looking on the outside what they mean and how they play a part in our future economy of everything we do. And once that light bulb hits for them, that's where the mainstream audience is going to start coming in and
Oh,
filling in those spots, which is going to be exciting. But people who are doing the education right now are a lot of creators.
hmm
So I want to come back around.
oh, true. No, that's where this economy was born between the creators and NFTs. They struggled so early on. And you keep in mind, CryptoPunks, for example, arguably the largest project out there, flopping between babes, started as for free. I saw a CryptoPunk listed a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. Guy sold it for 2.2 million, and he minted it for free and has held it ever since.
Right.
That economy grew out of education and people taking a small limited product and selectively flipping it among each other to grow value, which grew hype. And
Yep.
that increases the exclusivity. And then you add utility to it. And all of a sudden you've got this $100,000 utility membership JPEG. People are like, what? But with cool art. My own
Right.
mother, when first time I showed her the apes, she was like, oh, those are phenomenal. I print those out and put those on my wall. Like, I just want the art. I don't care what they're worth. Like, can I just have
Right.
the art? So it's an element of both, but 9 out of 10 times art's only 10%, if that, of the entire
Hmm.
product. It
Yeah. No,
really
exactly.
what comes with it. Yeah.
But that's where the education piece is, it limits that because most people just see the art being shared everywhere and
Right.
talking about the art, but like you said, that's just 10% of it. Unless it's like a one for one and you really love the art. Because there's trust me, there's artists out there that are doing phenomenal, beautiful one of one pieces that are insane.
Yep. Most
You know,
definitely.
and we see that a lot, but these projects where you're seeing a lot of apes or projects like doodles, things like that that are really hyped up. If you're just an outsider looking at it, you're like, the art's cool, but I could just print that. Or even the doodles, they're really simplistic that most likely you could draw it yourself. So people are thinking like that's silly, but it's the education gap right now. So once that gap starts closing in, based off of a lot of people talking about the middle pieces that people are not explaining,
Right.
that's when the value is going to increase and people are going to understand this. So, for instance, those of you that are listening as well, going back to portals, I have in my digital wallet a piece of artwork that I could share, and it's just a card. Like it's just a little card. It looks cool. It looks like a little membership card that you can swipe. But if somebody just saw that, they're like, okay, who cares? What does that card do? But going back
Uh,
to this, it gets you a space. That's the utility for this particular project. It gets you a really cool place that you can go into. And interesting enough, for value's sake, because some people might be asking what are worth. Right now, to buy into this, probably USD dollars, I believe it's like around 10,000 maybe for just the smallest room, which I have. But Dillon has a couple, like he mentioned before, like 3 tiers, and, the middle room,
those are anywhere from like 40 to 60, kind of on the day. You can find
$1,000.
high 30s. Yeah. US dollar,
Yeah,
USD,
and then there's the visions, which are geez.
150 to 200s,
Yeah, there's only 4 of them available right now on the marketplace, and the lowest
Yeah.
price on there is 2,320 SOL is the floor price on that.
But it's 200K if Soul's at 100 and if Soul's down right now. Let's see.
So 2,320, it's listed at 210,000
210
USD.
USD. Yeah. Okay. That's
Mhm.
why.
So basically, for the largest room right now, people are spending about $200,000 for these rooms. Now you're thinking like, holy, in certain parts of the country, you could find a house similar range, maybe a small house.
Find a nice house in places of the country for that. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Not where I'm at, you can't,
But
but there is definitely parts of the country you can buy a nice house for that price.
yep.
And so that's where also, and some people are thinking, well, that's stupid. Why the hell would you spend 200 grand on a virtual piece of property? But it goes back to the capabilities of being digital. And we're seeing people like Binance, who's a Chinese crypto bank, has bought into portals and they set up a beautiful store place for customers or whatever. They're going to do some really cool things in it. And we're seeing a lot of people buying into these to have these virtual stores versus a website. It's like flat. I think of it as web is two-dimensional, meaning you can't really feel it, touch it, interact with it too much. Like on a website, you can go see it. It's a flat screen and you can click
Yep.
links and things like that. But Web3 is moving into that 3D space where it's more hands-on virtual. You can see things, you can change different directions, you can change images. So for a business standpoint, if you're going into a Nike website, you can see the product, but how cool would it be if it's metaverse based? You can go in, you can take your character, you can see 3D, and eventually, I think 100% this is going to happen where you're able to go in and be able to wear the outfit and see what it looks like on you. That way you can see, wow, that looks really good, or I like these colors, and go navigate through their items and then buy them online. Or if you go to the store, you already know what's in their database and know exactly what you're looking for. That's how I'm trying to explain these a little bit better. And there's so much, oh my gosh, there's so many
It's
things.
and I love it, but just explaining it to people, I always laugh when people say, "What exactly do you do?" And I'm like, "You have 4 hours for me to explain," because two of that is going to have to be my explanation of how integrated we are in 3.0 and how that world works. But you're totally right about the economies within these spaces and the few examples you mentioned about commerce, the watch space, which you're just discussing here. I love it. I want to see these grow and be utilized more so.
Mhm.
Uh, for those tools. And I think one of the cool things that we're going to see integrate, and I talked about this on a space I did the other weekend regarding where the future is headed with this technology and how it's going to be used with brands and how they're going to introduce themselves. Is it straight into VR 3.0 or is it URL 3.0?
Mhm.
Uh,
Right?
so you'll see that this 2.0 version on 3.0 URL, I think, start to integrate AR components even. And you'll be able to take avatars that are linked to certain blockchains, drop them in any metaverse you want, and connect them. But at the same time, using some of the upcoming technology, experience full visual things in full reality. So it's going to be crazy to watch.
And there's a ton of brands that are already in this space right now. So, like, for instance, one, YouTube is a good example because YouTube actually gifted a couple of the creators on the platform recently an NFT, which is so cool. Two
That's
of
cool.
my creators that are on my roster, Michael Lee and Alex Stemp, both got sent an NFT from YouTube saying, "Hey, thanks." And it was really cool the way they displayed it. They sent him a digital frame. That's like another value add instead of these plaques. Like YouTube gives plaques,
Right.
TikTok doesn't really give too many things, but how cool would it be to incentivize your creators on a platform to say, hey, when you reach these thresholds, you get this cool NFT that you can display. It's not going to get damaged or ruined. You get to prove ownership of it, that you've earned this. Because I can go out there right now and make a YouTube plaque,
Hmm.
right? Like I could go right now, pretend like I have a channel, have a gold plaque in the background right here, and be like, yeah. And I'm sure you can go verify and try to find my YouTube channel, but some people might not care about it and they
Yeah,
think,
no,
well, that's legit. But like an NFT, somebody can say, do you really own it? And yeah, anybody can go in and look at the blockchain and be like, yep, they
yep,
own it.
sure. That was the whole point of the decentralized economy. And I can call your bullshit. Am I allowed to say that on this? Call
Yeah,
your beat,
you
beep it
can.
out. Yeah, we're calling bullshit. Blockchain says so. It's the beauty of it.
I love it. I love it. In fact, what's great is that people get called out on their bullshit all the time because there's people in this space that are dumb. Alex and I had a side conversation. He mentioned it on his space is that there's a guy on TikTok that's one of the top followed creators that are doing NFT education, but he said he's toxic because he's actually making fake claims on some of the videos he's doing, basically saying like what certain things have sold for or bought
Uh,
for or flipped
yeah,
for, and then he goes through some of those videos and goes to see the blockchain and see what really is happening. And it's completely false, which that's not the right education we need in this space. And the right education we need in this space are creators like Michael, who are doing some great stuff on his YouTube channel, Nifty Hustle. Alex Stemp is doing absolutely wonderful spaces. And one of your creators, Cody Orlov, who is
yeah.
doing some phenomenal stuff. And these are young creators. So talk to me about what they're doing right now for communities and
I,
education.
it's been cool to watch it cross over into this world. So in my experience, even before crypto and NFTs, I've been in this, for 4 or 5 years, like passionately now. But prior to this, it was all social content and traditional brand media, brand advertising, and curated content around social media. Then all of a sudden, the NFT and crypto space became so prevalent, and you started working on education tools and content with your creators and clients. And that really helped a lot of them mature their next audience and figure out what their next step is as creators. Because while we work with many of the biggest creators out there, there's only a handful of them that survive as influencers more than 4 or 5 years. So it's a matter of how you reinvent yourself beyond that. I've seen some real success with some of these creators who just didn't hustle all the way through on TikTok, but have moved into the space as influencers and are killing it. A really cool reinvention to watch for some of ours. And they're doing infinitely better in this space than they were prior. Cody, he's killed it in both spaces, but he really mastered taking the TikTok audience, communicating in a way, one, that China allows on the platform. When I
Mhm,
say that, just from top down, crushing any type of crypto or NFT content that's not 100% bulletproof.
mhm.
So have to have masters of content creation, like TikTok creators who understand how to work algorithms and how to get around the filters and still sell. And that's what Cody's been able to do. It's been interesting to watch. I think you're going to see a lot more creators jumping into this. I know at least in our conversations weekly, we've seen a steady 30-40% increase just in NFT outreach to us. I'm talking about all the brand conversations we do. It's been
Mhm.
an jump. Projects realizing, oh, these creators can actually bring awareness. That's
Exactly.
where I'm at with it. And that I say what between the two of us, our clients do what 100 million views a week,
Easy.
easy. We're
Easy, yeah.
300 million followers roughly combined between us.
Mhm.
So, dang,
Tons.
yeah,
And you know what's interesting that you mentioned that a lot more creators are gonna be jumping into this, and 100%. Let's say even a year from now, it's gonna be a totally different conversation because the crypto space or, the Web3 space, I like to call it that because some people don't like the word crypto even though it's part of it, but
yep,
the Web3 space is going to be part of our normal everyday life. The funny thing is that we were at Art Basel in December.
Boy, were we ever.
Yeah,
That
we
was
were, and it was a really cool experience. But what really got my frickin' wheels turning and my mind was like exploding from excitement was the fact that we showed up with the only creators at the event.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there was nobody there. We had our handful of creators come with us, and we look around, nobody else, no other creators are there. Nobody's talking about creators. So it's like a new Wild West. It literally is. When somebody says, "What is a Web3 creator?" Nobody has an exact definition of what that means still as of right now. But what I love is even since December, the shift, there's so many more people that are looking into it, how to be a part of it. If you're in the music space, there's so many opportunities there. If you're an artist, there's so many opportunities. So I think there's going to be a massive shift. Now, I don't think Web3 is going to take over Web2 because Web2 is still the driving force for content. Maybe that'll change one day, but right now, they both play hand in hand. It's so important to still have an audience. For instance, Alex did a spaces the other day, and I was actually able to come up and talk, which was fun because he was talking about, hey, you're really big in Web3, but what's the best way to talk to your community and educate them is you have to come back to Web2 and start building a fan base, building an audience around that. And we were talking about TikTok is such a great tool for that of coming on there to create content around your project maybe, or even if you're just wanting to be a Web3 creator, putting out education pieces. So you really still need to use the tools at hand on the Web2 platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, all those to be able to create these content pieces. Creators can leverage that opportunity to help educate other people to become creators that have
Oh,
never been that before.
yeah, precisely. Yeah. Again, when you talk about a Web 3.0 creator, some of them haven't created yet. They're going to come out of this economy.
Exactly.
I mean, we've got a guy here in Nashville we work with pretty closely who has done a good job breaking into the music side of Web 3.0 and has figured out an economy as a performer where he is now the rotating country star for all of these brands that are doing events in Decentraland. So he figured out early that if I hit a company up and say, hey, let me write you a song, let me come perform for you. I've got an audience of 2 million monthly listeners anyway. Let's work together.
Mhm.
Mm, It took one event and now he can't commit to them fast enough. All of these brands are very hungry for the newest thing on the market, and most of them don't know how to access it. So if you provide that tool into 3.0, like these portals, like these events with our creators who can hop in and bring the hype so the brands don't have to. It's a whole new economy that's gonna generate new creators we can't fathom yet. You want to talk creators, AI personalities
Oh
that are
my
in the
gosh, right?
world that aren't real, but are gonna certainly deceive you well, you
That
know?
is so true. Those of you that are listening might not have heard of little Michaela, but she's a great example of that. She's an AI generated creator who's has millions of followers and literally thousands and thousands of comments on her videos,
Oh,
on her Instagram page, and
wow.
people love her, and she's not even real. And so I agree. You could be listening right now and you might be the next biggest Web3 creator in a year's time. You have no idea. And that's what is exciting is right now is the ground level is back. For
It
instance, I like to bring this up because Michael, Alex, Cody are switching over to Web3, but their audiences don't get it. So they're not having a massive shift. It's not like they're starting with a really big head start. In fact, when we were at these events, nobody even knew who they were. They were able to walk around like normal people. Nobody was bombarding them because nobody knew. And ultimately, nobody gave a shit because they need to know what are they bringing to this space. Cool. You're big on TikTok, but what is your value here for us to follow you? What's really fun is like the ground floor is back, regardless of your followers or communities that you have. And everybody has an equal opportunity to break out or figure out what this looks like. And it's so Wild West right now. Any idea you have is
yeah.
not limited. There's no limits to any crazy ideas you have. Nobody set any bars yet.
It's infinite. I'm just laughing because I was working on a contract the other day with some of our partners in the metaverse space, and we were coming up with clauses around illegal activity in the spaces. And we're trying to figure out, I mean, you can't murder someone in there. You can't steal something. So we're going through all the different crimes that are potentially existing in 3.0 to figure out what is doable and not. And it's so wild west that
It is.
the legal teams are like, yeah, we don't know what to do with these, and what kind of, you know, lingo is required to protect you in this world. So when you say Wild
Exactly.
West, funny to me because is Wild West
It
right now.
really is. I met an attorney. I went to an NFT meetup locally and he came because he's trying to figure out like laws or regulations and just trying to help. But he was speaking with all of us just to get our experiences of what we're facing because they have no idea. They're like, I don't even know where to start. I better go talk to people in these spaces, see what their concerns are, see
Right.
what do we even play a part here. Like they have no idea. And it's just hilarious. I tell people like your idea is coming into Web3. There's no set standard or way. There's all kinds of opportunities regardless of your brand who has retail products. Adidas did a cool NFT drop with the Bored Ape that they own because Adidas actually owns a Bored Ape, which is cool. And they use that to leverage a really cool, fun product drop with an actual wearable outfit. So we're going to see stuff like that, but there's so many opportunities. And this isn't even the start. It can shift at any time.
Totally.
Um, it could shift tomorrow because this space, just letting you know if you're interested in this space, what you research today, tomorrow can be
It,
totally changed.
it can change, but it, it's
So,
unbelievable.
yeah, so actively listening to conversations is really key and important. Unfortunately, most of my podcasts are very evergreen, and this episode might not be. Like in a month from now, everything that we just talked about in here could be different or changed.
It's so true. It's so freaking true, man. And we may just have a follow-up and a whole new conversation to have, 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
Yeah,
who knows?
exactly. We'll just have to make this a recurring thing to just talk about what's new in the creator space. If especially if people find this very interesting, let us know because if you want us to have a reoccurring monthly podcast just to go through what has happened within the month, that'd be actually fun. We might be able to just do that.
Yeah. No, we would enjoy that, and there's so much synergy. I know we haven't talked much about what you and I do behind the scenes, just more about what we love that we're involved in, but there's so much to the creator economy that you and I are deeply ingrained in. A lot of people turn to us to help advise, how do we get into this space? So I'm always down to talk around the subject and educating people. And it forces me to research more in case I get questions I'm not ready for. So I've always loved learning. It's a clear sign that the world is heading to 3.0 very quickly. It's also very clear that they have no idea how, So for us, being that middle person who they can call and say, can you set up shop? Can you get me in the metaverse? Can you curate events? Can you produce the whole thing? And I'll just tell you where to write the check.
Mhm.
That's what's needed in this world to bridge the gap. And I think you and I are in a unique position with just our combined rosters to continue to help brands do that. And I think you and I will have some very interesting conversations to share with listeners
Yeah,
about what brands are doing and how they're thinking and strategizing, and love to hear from some of them if that resonates. So I'm all in.
me too, man. Like all in. And Art Basel was really one to just push me over the edge to be really all in with this. I'm so
Right.
excited to see where things are going and heading, and we're going to be learning a lot more as we go. And our creators are just so pumped. They're more excited about this than they ever were with just TikTok content. Like you can tell this is
So
their number one focus right now. And that gives you a good indication as well. These top creators on these apps, some of these are in the top 10 globally in the world and their focus right now is this, that kind of gives you a good indication of, I should be paying attention to this. I should start taking this seriously. I should figure out whatever I'm in personally, business, brand, anything you are. How can you start leveraging this? Yeah, and Dillon and I would be glad to answer questions if you want to reach out to us on our socials. And I'll have links in the bio description that you can click and find us and DM us and ask questions. We'll do more of this because it's such an important topic and it does change quickly. And we want to give the news out and give people information of what they can do to leverage these opportunities for sure.
I know you and I have already got a space coming up with Alex, Michael, and Cody. We got to prep for. So we're going to be working on a lot of ideas. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm really excited. Yeah. You know where to find me. I'm here. I'm going to call you
Absolutely.
out anyway and be like, yo, dude, we got a link on this. It's just the story of the life. I love it.
Yeah, man. Let the listeners know or people watching this, how can they follow you or find you?
Yeah, I'm on all socials. I'm actually least active on TikTok, so you won't find me there. I hide on TikTok since everybody I manage doesn't. But IG, you can find me at Manager Dillon, Dillon. Twitter, same. Email Dillon at Team Checked. Just if you got questions, ask me, or if you have any interest in the brand and creator economy synergy with 3.0, or know someone who may be trying to get into it, that's what we do, and we're here to help assist with that process. So let us know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and thanks everybody who tunes in every week. And if this is your first episode, make sure you go back and take a look and listen to some of my past ones that are more TikTok based and helping you become a better creator or learning how to leverage being a brand on the platform. But Web 3.0 moving forward is going to be talked about a lot more on this podcast because it's so important and it does heavily play into what we're doing in the Web 2 space. It's going to have some relevancies here, but it also gives you more information on how to get started. And I will put a link as well because there's going to be a lot of you that are interested. I'm going to put a link to my space. I'm going to clean it up a bit because by the time this episode goes out, I'll have it all cleaned up. And I'll put a link into my portal space. You can log in as a public person and just step in and enjoy it and see what it looks like and click some stuff and see how it works. But you don't need to download anything. It's just a web-based program, and you can just click the URL and go straight into it and join it and see how fun it is, and enjoy some metaverse experience that you might not have been able to do. So
Yeah, it's so true. Go check out Kyle's space. It's great.
awesome,
But yeah,
Dylan. I appreciate you being on the show today, and thanks so much for your expertise and the experience that you brought to the show was really awesome.
no, it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm always supporting. So let's make it the beginning of many.
Absolutely, man. Look forward to it.
You're the best, Kyle.